let's get into the business. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Slay episode number 43. Those of you who do not know, what we do is we record this live and then it is edited for post and put into the podcast feed as audio only. So you see me snap twice. There's two rules there. Number one is you got to drink. Sorry. If I snap twice, whatever you're drinking, it can be non-alcoholic. That's fine. You got to take a little drink. It's like a shot game. And if I screw up the read, you guys are getting hammered. That's sort of the way it goes. And then we cut out all of the bad takes and we cut out all the snaps. And then that finished, polished audio goes into the podcast feed, which you can hear on Sunday at scottsegler.com/subscribe, where you can subscribe to all of the podcasts. And I make this gesture. Swear to God, I'm not sniffing my own farts right now because it certainly looks that way. It certainly looks that way, but that is not the case. All right, we're going to give it a couple more seconds to let people filter in on Facebook and YouTube and Twitch and all the other lovely places. Only one person left on Twitter. I wonder who it is. Cobalt's at work, cannot drink while working. Totally understandable, my friend. I appreciate that you are not drinking while you are. Brian Kane, what is up, dog? What is up? Martin Evans, if I don't see you there this year, I guarantee you I will go next year, and you and I, we will go get a beverage. It'll be great. Sean Dyer says, what was that you're saying about not having a holiday on which to read Blue Balls? No, I have to write a whole Blue Balls episode, which I simply don't have time to do right now because of all the crazy shit that is going on right now, which we're going to talk about after the episode. This is a bit of a longer read, so this should be in the 30 to 35 minute range. Definitely going to tax my artistic acting ability. I may be exhausted after this is done. Let's go to Maine. Let's get ready to go. Let's call up our... Let's call up our lower third super. And we've got people coming in now. And whether you guys are late or not, we got shit to do. We got bills to pay. Let's go ahead and get the headphones off. And let's get into the script. God, I got to fix this lighting one of these days. You know, I would love to say it's the lighting that makes me look like a cadaver. But this is pretty much the way I look. It just sort of amplifies the cadaverish nature of my big ass bald dome. Tilt that a little bit so I look a little taller, not quite so fucking short. There we go. And don't get me wrong, I am pretty fucking short. So here we go. Let's get into the script. I love you all. Get your drinks ready. If you have a beverage, prepare. Not you who are working, it's fine. Let's go. Hey, Don Shipley. Thank you, Brian Leach, you smart ass. Appreciate it. And now I'm hitting record. Hello and welcome to Slay episode number 43. Let me get you caught up on the story so far, and then we've got some gut-wrenching tales to tell about Lincoln and the gang. Oh, I see what's going on. Pop. Link. You don't have to drink on that one. That one's free. Here we go. Previously on Slay. Lincoln is at the Bastion to pay his respects to the Clostator, the sect's spiritual and military leader. He's been told she doesn't have long to live. What will this old warrior have to say to him? Back in Lumencia, Ariella, Magda, and Billy prepare for a visit from Kellius Droman, one of the baddest wizards in town. They've hired him to beef up security at the old stone church. What happens when he finds out they can't pay for his services? And now, episode 43 of Slay. The nave still smelled, slightly, of burned wood. Ariella smoothed her tight skirt, gave her red blouse a tug to make it look just so. She looked good. So good that Billy was glad he wasn't wearing pajamas anymore. Is that damn dog locked up? She asked. Dragon is not locked up, Billy said. She's in the bell tower. I told her to stay, so she'll stay. Ariella's stern brown eyes narrowed with displeasure. Tuck in your shirt, she said. At least try to look presentable. Billy tucked in the gray and black flannel into his black jeans. It wasn't his shirt, but he did it all the same. He don't gotta tuck in jack shit, Magda said. We're the customers here, right? Magda didn't give a damn about looking presentable. There were mustard stains on her rumpled Smurf's pajamas. She held a mug half filled with pawberry fizzo and half with vodka. Magda, you are an embarrassment, Ariella said. Kellius Droman, the Kellius Droman, is coming to our place of business, and you look like a 40-year-old homeless wino. Can you at least go hide in your workshop? Only 40? Magda picked her nose with her middle finger as she smiled at Ariella. I didn't realize I looked that good. Ariella huffed, ran a hand through her dark-rooted blonde hair. One of the links on her turquoise charm necklace began to pulse. All right, here we go. She pulled the piece free, tossed it out into the nave's open space. A blob of color Billy couldn't quite identify, sort of green, sort of purple maybe, appeared where the coffee table had once been. Through that blob stepped a man and a young teenage girl. The man wore a tailored, dark green three-piece suit with burnished gold buttons. His gray threaded hair looked like he had just stepped out of the salon. Billy was a good 3 inches taller, but the man's air of effortless confidence made Billy feel instantly smaller. The girl, perhaps 13, wore a dress that matched the man's suit. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a smooth ponytail, as if she was playing dress-up as a no-nonsense corporate lawyer. Although her sullen eyes and the braces she tried to hide spoiled the effort. Kellius, my old friend, Ariella said. What a wonderful suit. Katie Brioni? Droman's chin went up slightly. The smallest of self-satisfied smiles creased the corners of his eyes. Your eye for fashion is as sharp as ever. He nodded toward the girl. This is my daughter, Delilah. Delilah curtsied and clearly hated doing so. Ma'am, she said. Nice to meet you, Ariella. Nice to meet you, Delilah. Ariella gestured to Magda and Billy. This is Magda and Walt. Magda is a co-owner of the business. Walt, he's new here. Kellius barely gave Billy a glance, his eyes fixed on Magda. Miss Magdalene, he said, thank you for your service. Magda raised her mug of soda and vodka in mock salute, then took a sip. Thank you for your service? For being a Rixator, maybe? Kellius glanced up at the scorched roof timbers. I can see why you needed my services, he said. Am I to believe that Lincoln Franks let a mesh worker attack you in your own home? Who was it? Billy felt a rush of embarrassment. Funny you should mention that, Ariella said. It was an accident, not an attack. The damage was done by Walt here. Which brings me to a wonderful offer for you, Kellius. A deal for the work at hand that benefits all involved. Kellius glanced at Billy, let loose a disdainful sigh. Ariella, please tell me you're not going to try and barter for my services. Ariella laughed. Barter? Of course not. This is an opportunity to protect Delilah from that awful kidnapper abducting young people from powerful families. I can't help but notice you brought her with you. I assume that's because you don't want to let her out of your sight, which makes me assume you haven't found a suitable bodyguard for her yet. Droman's eyes narrowed. Billy instantly hoped Droman would never look at him that way. The dude was downright scary. Ariella, you already offered me Lincoln's services as a bodyguard, Droman said. I declined. As I told you before, I need a protector, not a killer. Ariella gestured to Billy. And that's why I've expanded the deal, she said. Young Walt here is filthy with raw power. He's had no mentor. You'd be his first. Droman smiled. It's no small wonder you made your name as a cutthroat lawyer. You want me to train someone for free, and you make it sound like you're the one doing me a favor. Ariella shrugged. You can decide if it's a favor or not. You get a former Rixator guarding Delilah, and you get first crack at a natural mesh worker who can become a powerful ally. You know how rare that is. Droman rolled his eyes. If I had a gold piece for every time someone thinks they know a natural mesh worker, I'd... His voice trailed off. Delilah was breathing in big, loud, nose-crinkling breaths. Daddy, she said, Walt smells like you. Now, Droman's eyes leveled on Billy. Billy's heart beat faster. Droman took one small sniff, then another. The expression that creased his face, suspicion, distrust, and maybe envy. Delilah, he said, speak when you are spoken to. The girl hung her head. Rich-ass Kellius Droman was a bit of a dick. My answer is no, he said. I have a bodyguard starting tomorrow. Finkus Palmore will protect my daughter. Ariella, you will pay the agreed-upon fee for the agreed-upon work. Ariella fidgeted with her necklace. About that, she said. A couple of our accounts receivable are a tad behind on payments. Perhaps, for old time's sake, you could extend us a tiny bit of credit? Billy noticed that when Ariella said, for old time's sake, her lip curled up into a seductive lipstick sneer. I don't work on credit, Droman said. You know this. Ariella looked at the girl. Your father and I are old friends, she said. Maybe sometime soon I can tell you about how good he is at poker. Droman cleared his throat, and for the first time, he did not look like he owned the entire world. Well, that won't be necessary, he said. Delilah, Ariella was my lawyer for a brief time. I am afraid she can't discuss our business due to attorney-client privilege. Ariella, I can give you a week's grace period, for old time's sake. Ariella grinned. Billy wanted her to grin at him like that, only with less clothes. Thank you, Kellius, she said. Delilah, my apologies. I enjoyed working with your father so much I forgot about attorney-client privilege. Delilah looked like she wanted to be anywhere but here. Kellius glanced around the room. This shouldn't take long. Let's get started. I can give you a tour of the place, Mr. Droman, Billy said. Delilah brightened. That would be fun. Droman put a hand on her shoulder. We do not need a tour, he said. I'm simply applying a bubble of unremarkability around this place and the grounds. That will amplify the existing protections. We don't need to see more. Delilah looked up at him. But, Dad, this place is so cool. Can Billy just show me around while you... I said no. Droman's distrustful glare settled on Billy. Delilah, get your notebook out. You need to observe and learn, not gawk, like this is some museum of forgotten relics. Relics? Magda laughed. Why, you Keebler-eating... Magda! Oops, sorry. Let's do that again. Relics? Magda laughed. Why, you Keebler-eating... Magda? Ariella snapped. Please give him room to work. Magda shook her head as she left the nave, mumbling about how she didn't need this bullshit. I'm sorry about her, Kellius, Ariella said. Magda can be uncooperative. Add surly and impolite to that list. Droman again looked Billy's way. I'm afraid I do not give free demonstrations. Kindly remove yourself, Walt. I have a very busy schedule. This guy thought Billy was gonna, what? Rip off his sick beats or whatever the magical equivalent was? Billy did not know how any of this worked. It wasn't as if he could take notes like Delilah. Walt, Ariella said, go take Dragon for a walk. Well, fuck the both of them. Nice to meet you, Delilah, Billy said. Delilah smiled. A genuine smile that showed her braces. Nice to meet you, Walt. At least the girl seemed okay. She'd probably turn out to be an arrogant Richie like her dad, but for now, she seemed cool. Billy headed for the front door. It was cold out, but Dragon didn't seem to mind. She'd love to play fetch in the empty lot out back. And Billy would rather spend time with her than these people anyway. Lincoln stood waiting in the candlelit office. How many times had he been called here for a dressing down of one form or another? How many times had he stood in front of this ancient wooden desk? He'd lost count long before he had quit the Bastion. This office was thousands of years old. It had housed hundreds of Clostators. Lincoln imagined the place looked the same as it had for millennia. The shelves of old books, the wax-thick candlestands, the alcove with the two old chairs, the ancient, narrow, pointed Hungarian shield Rixators once used, with the Bastion symbol emblazoned upon it, hanging on the wall. That symbol, the Arvadata, the Bastion's equivalent of the Christian cross, the Islamic crescent and moon, the Jewish Star of David. The Arvadata was an octagon with circles making up each of the 8 points. It represented the octagonal towers that anchored each corner of the Bastion fortress walls and also, supposedly, the 8 legs of the Jurogumo species the Bastion had been founded to fight against. Below the Arvadata, crudely hammered into the shield's metal, the Bastion's slogan, Vastator Iraneum. It meant destroyer of spiders. The Jurogumo, crap. He had meant to ask Peanut if Bastard Maker was Jurogumo magic, as Mercutio claimed, but he had forgotten. Maybe he'd do that some other time. After this, he had to get back to the old stone church. Other than the shield, the books, and the candles, the room was devoid of embellishment. That was the Bastion way. Sparse, simple, humble. A door behind the desk, obscured by a hanging ochre-colored curtain, led to the Clostator's private quarters. Perhaps Lincoln should have come here years ago. Perhaps not. He hoped he could simply pay his respects and not wind up in an argument with this woman. Again. A hand pushed the curtain aside. Juanita Socorro, Auntie Juanita, the Clostator, the Bastion's spiritual leader and military commander, stepped through. Lincoln, she said, thank you for coming. Damn, did she look old. She'd lost muscle. Her ochre-colored cassock hung on her like it was 3 sizes too large for her skeletal frame. Her hair had been white before, sure, but now there was less of it. The dull, scratched bronze pauldrons, the Clostator's badge of office, looked too large for her shoulders, too heavy for them. The ancient armor seemed to pull her shoulders down. She smiled at him. That, at least, was the same as it had always been. A smile that was both a constant welcome and an ever-present warning, because Juanita Scoro was not one to suffer insult. Lincoln put his hand to his chest and bowed his head. He was no longer a Rixator, no longer a servant of the Bastion. He was not obligated to give that formal greeting. He gave it anyway. Clostator. He raised his head. It's good to see you. Sorry to keep you waiting. I needed a wee rest. Basil can be a bit tiring. He's a pompous blowhard, Lincoln said. He'll replace me soon. Show the proper respect. It was hard to see this legendary warrior so frail. Juanita had held Lincoln as a baby. She had been Jacoby's socius, which meant she'd always been around. Until Lincoln was 11 years old, Auntie Juanita had been a part of the family. That was when Juanita, Jacoby, and Halvor Omdal, an Adjurator, had attacked the last known Jurogumo nest. After that, everything changed. Everything. Auntie Juanita hadn't come around as much. She had retired from field operations and pursued an administrative path. She'd worked her way to Tertius, then Clausta Secundo, and finally became the Clostator. Lincoln still remembered that grand ceremony, remembered his father placing the pauldrons on Juanita's shoulders. So many people had been there. Everyone in the Bastion, all the important folks in Quartus, and representatives from every territory in the patchwork. Sit, Lincoln. With a trembling hand, Juanita gestured to the alcove chairs. Sit and talk for a moment. It would make these old bones ring with memories of days gone by. They both sat. Sophia tells me you're ill, Lincoln said. Juanita nodded. Warriors die, Lincoln. Some in battles. Those who survive them eventually, they die all the same. May I ask what it is? She rolled her eyes. Good old-fashioned cancer, if you can believe it. I trust you will do me the courtesy of not asking if we have tried everything. Lincoln nodded quickly. Of course, Clostator. There's no one else here. Call me Auntie, for old time's sake. He had not seen her in years. When he had thought of her, those thoughts had not been kind. Now, knowing she might not have much time left, he wished he had been a better man and come sooner. Death makes so many slights seem unimportant. Okay, Auntie, Lincoln said. She reached out and patted his hand. I used to change your diapers, she said, which means I have always known just how full of shit I am, Lincoln finished for her. She laughed at the old joke, as did he. It only felt a little bit stilted. There wasn't much laughter left in her. That much was obvious. Auntie, I'm so sorry. I wish I knew what to say. She considered that for a moment. Say he'll come back to us, Lincoln. I can reinstate you before my time is done. You were destined to be one of the greats. Come back to us. She reached out, touched his between cloak. You still wear your uniform. I wonder why. It wasn't the first time he had been asked to return. Hell, Juanita had done all she could to stop Lincoln from leaving in the first place. But he'd had good reasons to walk away. The armor and the cloak are mine, Lincoln said. I earned them. I wear them because I have a dangerous profession. If I come back, Auntie, will you help Magda's situation with my father's so he has the dignity he deserves? Juanita laced her trembling fingers together and rested them on her knee. They both live in the underskin, she said. That is their choice. The Bastion has no financial involvement with those who do not live in Cordis. You know this. He did know that. Yet it infuriated him all the same. Those rules are antiquated, Lincoln said. You know this, Auntie. Magda can't live down here. She's too afraid, Juanita said. Lincoln's anger grew. She has PTSD, for fuck's sake. After what she went through, anyone would. Juanita sat up straighter. No, not anyone. For thousands of years, Rixies, Juros, and monks have suffered like she did, and many far worse. Those who can no longer fight, for whatever reason, move into admin. She used the common nicknames for those three classes of Bastion warrior. Rixies for Rixitor, Juros for Adjurators, and monks for Monachi. Magda Magdalene will not live in Cordis, so we cannot help her, Juanita said. As for your father, you know why he left. Magda suffered from PTSD. Jacoby suffered from pride. He had insisted he could still fight, even though he couldn't walk. When Juanita told him his Rixitor days were gone forever, he had left the Bastion and the city of Cordis altogether. Jacoby Franks could not get his head around the fact that he was no longer the man, and he couldn't be around those who were. Rixitors embraced a vow of poverty. The Bastion provided food, lodging, training, and spiritual guidance. To be seen as neutral, to serve the needs of all in the patchwork, to ensure they could never be used as weapons as soldiers in a war, Bastionites could earn no money, could receive no form of compensation or reward from outside these walls. If not for Lincoln, who would care for Magda? Who would provide for his father? No one would. There is no free ride here, Juanita said. Idle hands are the playground of demons. I will not change our ancient rules. You know full well that Basil won't either. Lincoln was mad at himself more than at her. She hadn't backed down when he threatened to quit. She wasn't going to back down now. She was a slave to tradition. Basil. Lincoln shook his head. I can't believe you're letting that numbnuts take over for you. Juanita raised a trembling hand, scratched at her cheek. Everything about her seemed weak, seemed slow. It's not my decision alone, she said. He earned his place with tireless dedication as a Rixitor, with decades of work as a Quester and a Villicus. The council anointed him as Tertius years ago. While the Clostator made all final decisions, the council, of which the Clostator was a member, voted on the next Tertius when a Clostator died. That kept the line of succession going. The Clostator to be replaced by the Claustus Secundo, to be replaced by the Tertius. I can't believe you people voted for Basil, Lincoln said. He's a narcissist and a conspiracy theorist. He believes in that same ridiculous Mors Mundi prophecy my dad does. Juanita sighed. I didn't vote for him, you can be sure of that. Yes, Basil believes in the prophecy. I'm afraid that belief is why some voted for him. There are Questers who still believe in it. To them, Basil could be the light that drives away the darkness. The Juroguma are the very reason the Bastion was founded, Lincoln. Do you forget your history? 4 millennia ago, The spidery shapeshifters known as the Jorogumo had come close to conquering all of the patchwork. They had even spread up to the underskin. The other groups of that time had banded together to fight a desperate war against them. They'd collaborated to train a brutal, highly unified force. The Bastion was born. Developing martial skills in both physical combat and meshwork, Bastion warriors won victories over the Jorogumo, eventually conquering the race and driving them into an underground lair. There, the predecessors of the Rixators, Adjurators, and Monachi had unleashed a massive meshwork that froze the Jorogumo in place, deep below what eventually became the city of Cordis. The Bastion fortress was built over that lair, partially as a seal, partially to ensure that no one could ever plunge deep enough to rouse the spiders from their eternal slumber. "You can't be serious, Auntie," Lincoln said. "You really think I could forget the lessons I learned here? And with Jacoby Franks as my father?" She sighed again, and this time, Lincoln heard a soft rattle in her breath. "Of course you remember." She leaned back in her chair. "Your sister tells me your son is still on the shelf. I assure you, if there was anything we could do to help, we would." Lincoln nodded. "I know, Auntie." The Bastion could do nothing. For all the power, knowledge, and skill the organization possessed, the shelf was on another plane of reality altogether, one that few understood and fewer could access. She reached out, patted his hand again. Her skin felt cold. "Well, Lincoln, it has done this old body good to see your face again. Thank you for coming. I hope you find your way back to us. Together, we are the armor that protects the just. We are the weapons that slay the wicked. This is all we need. This is all we want. This is all we are." That old phrase, a statement of the sacrifices shared by each and every Bastionite. A giant load of bullshit. Magda couldn't protect anyone. Jacoby couldn't slay a damn thing save for a fifth of whiskey. No togetherness for them. None at all. Lincoln stood. She stood too, slowly and carefully. Lincoln again put his hand to his chest and bowed his head. "Clostator," he said, "it is an honor to have served under you." He didn't want to admit that was true, but it was. All the bitterness in his heart would not alter the reality of things. "Goodbye, Lincoln," she said. "I know this is the last time I will see you. Fight well." With that, she shuffled back through the curtain, the hem of her cassock sliding slowly across the stone floor. That was episode 43 of Slay. Come back to us next week for episode number 44. Lincoln's got some problems to solve. Have a good one. And we're up. All right, everybody, there we go. The cold actually held on pretty good for that. I did forget to brace the desk. Oh, everybody, look what it is. Hold tight for 1 second, y'all. I'll be right back. I got to... This
is a smooth running operation here.
You can just push that in my computer into that slot. All right, everybody, we're back. I'm surprised. That actually kind of went pretty multipass. That went pretty well. Surprisingly. Let's see how you look. Yeah, baby's got the same cold I got.
Yeah, that whole me not being on the cast last week.
Oh, get your mic out and then make sure you're. Oh my God, I just burped on air. That's why we win all the awards, babe. That's why we win all the awards.
Yeah. Testing. Did you turn on my mic?
I did. Smooth operator.
What's happening here? There we go.
Smooth operator. North and South, Key West to Key Lock.
So
voice is gone, y'all.
That whole me staying away from him last week so that I didn't give him a cold. Yeah, that did not work. He's still sick. I'm mostly better. But
we're married, and it may not be appropriate for a family conversation. I can't keep my hands off this girl, so sorry. Eventually, I know. So she's like, maybe you should not sleep in the couch. We don't get it. I'll sleep in the couch. I don't want you to get the cold. I'm like, baby, come on. We know exactly what's going to happen. We're going to get that cold.
I tried, you guys.
Also, basically, we live in a time capsule. What did they call it back in the 60s? We live in a bombshell. It's very small. It's very closed in and small. And there is no... Can you scooch a little closer to me, Pumpkin? There we go.
Better?
There we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen. I admit we don't have a whole lot of new things to bring up today. I do want to let you know that Chris Grawl is in the house. He is one of the advisors on the crypt. And I told him I was starting the crypt on Monday. I'm a liar. That's what I do for a living. I'm actually starting the crypt on Friday. Tomorrow, I've got to start on Slay episode 44 because the story's complicated, and I got everything in fresh in my head to do that. And Friday, I start Crypt Book 2. Those of you who are expecting me to start on the final draft of GFL Book 7, I'm so sorry. So sorry. That is not going to actually happen. So that is the only big... Oh, let's get rid of that thing right there. Clear timers. Boom. That is the only really big thing we've got to discuss, and the rest of the time is just general. We're going to get you caught up on. Let's do our housekeeping. Let's go to housekeeping.
Okay.
I feel like I need a sounder for housekeeping. There we go. I need a housekeeping sounder because that's what Johnny Carson would have done. He would have had a sounder for housekeeping.
I don't think he would have said sounder on the air, though.
No, of course not. Sunday, January 14th, which is in the past, we just put up Slay episode 42. It went live in the podcast feed. If you're not subscribed to the podcast feed, scottsigler.com/subscribe. Sunday, January 21st, what you just heard, edited, polished, and cleaned up, will be in the live feed. Again, scottsigler.com/subscribe. It's on Spotify. It's on Apple Podcasts. You should be subscribed to it. And since you're subscribed to it, go leave a review, 5 stars. You know how you are. Wednesday, January 24th is going to be the live stream of Slay episode 44. So come back and join us a week from today. Saturday, February 3rd, we've got the Iceberg Junkie Meetup. Steve the Iceberg Rickyberg will be hosting it for all y'all.
I've missed it for a handful of months, but I think I'm going to be here this time. I think so.
Very nice.
I think so.
Very nice. Very nice. And then, of course, that is, you've got Zoom. You jump on Zoom, you hang out. And, of course, we all have Zoom, thanks to the pandemic, which is the reason we started this show.
Yeah.
Which is the reason I have this particular face lettuce, because this is the face lettuce that won. You were talking about that this morning on the walk.
I actually think the Tony Stark one, which is not
this
quite
is my
that.
Tony Stark.
Yeah.
It's sort of flat.
I mean,
morphed.
you've grown in this part, which he doesn't have. He just has that crazy goatee with the missing pieces
crazy
there.
Goatee.
But yeah, that was March of 2020. I think March 14th, 15th, something like that.
I'm waiting for the right character to bust out the Robert Downey Jr. impression. Okay, in the chat room, can anybody guess Kellius Droman, who I was trying to impersonate for Kellius Droman? I'd love to see if you guys can guess this. As I've told you many times before, I impersonate a celebrity impersonating another celebrity, and that is how I get a voice that I haven't done before that hopefully becomes identifiable as that particular character. Chris Grawl, shut up. You have actual hair on top of your head, so I'd trade with you in a heartbeat, bro. And then April 1st, Slay Season 1 in ebook and audiobook. We are crossing our fingers. Things are stacking up here in the empty set front as far as things we got to do. So hopefully we make that. You think we'll make that, babe?
I do. Well, I think we'll make it.
Okay.
We're going to do everything we can to make it.
Do everything. Thank you, Daryl. I do. I look good. Wait, you Daryl.
Oh, Lord. Oh, look. I'm not even in that shot.
Because look at me. You don't need to be in that shot.
I'm definitely prettier.
Yeah, it's true. Let's get you fixed up. There
you go.
There we go.
Hello.
There it is. And then
Hello,
that's white chocolate in the background. White chocolate just got some new strings, y'all. White chocolate just got some new, beautiful black beauty strings from DR. They're so good. Those of you who don't know music will not give a shit about what strings I put in my bass, but I love them. They're fantastic. So at this point, we're just we're chit-chatting.
Yeah.
What's up, girl?
Well, I did have a question. Oh, okay. I did have a question. Did you watch any football over the week?
Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Becky, are you kidding me? Is that how fucking busy I've been today? Is that how busy I've been today? That I can't. Oh, shit. The Lions won a fucking playoff game.
I don't know if you know, we were quite excited.
And I forgot. The Lions went. That's how hard I work for you people. That is how I work my fingers to the bone, to little bloody nubbly snubs, so that you can have your entertainment. I forgot that the team I have followed my entire fucking life, not adult life, my entire life, won a playoff game for only the second time since I've been alive. They defeated the Los Angeles Rams at Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan. I'm very excited. Thank you, baby.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Appreciate
that. So, Scott, before this past weekend's game, which is, as mentioned, in case you didn't know, the first playoff game that the Lions have won in, I think it's 32 years.
30 years. 30 years.
Okay, 3 years.
I was a young man with hair. That's how fucking long it's been. I had. Now, it wasn't like a big old lush mane, right? But I had gorgeous, curly strawberry blonde hair. I wore it in a mullet, bitches. The last time the Lions won, I wore it in a mullet because the hairline was already receding. But I was in metal bands playing Detroit and Ann Arbor and around the state of Michigan. So I wore like this awesome bandana with the hair coming down the back. It was sick. It was so long ago, I no longer have any hair whatsoever. What were you saying? I'm sorry. I'm very excited now. I forgot we have this to talk about. Very excited.
So we, as you guys all know, my brother and sister-in-law were in town for Christmas. My brother stayed a little bit longer. So a couple of weeks ago, when they got into the playoffs, we watched up at my parents' house. And my brother and my dad and Scott watched. And I tried to teach my mom a little bit of football, which I think she learned. So then this past weekend for this game, he's like, listen, I need to watch at home alone with only you in the house. Dogs can be there too, but that's it.
Yeah, David.
And yes. Lord sakes alive, it was stressful. It was stressful because Scott, even when he's enjoying watching the Lions, doesn't really enjoy watching the Lions. It's very, very strange. But
there is. I'm sorry. There is no enjoying watching the Lions for me.
There's none.
When they win. I can't. When they win, I'm upset because of the things they did not do correct and the weird decisions they made that made the game be on edge. When they lose, I'm furious. It frankly ruins my week. I do. I think A is much happier being married to me when football is not being played. Much happier.
Or at least when the Lions aren't playing.
I'm a happier person. But they won the game. I will say, those of you who know football or enjoy football, casually. They played an almost perfect game. I was very worried about Jared Goff, who's the quarterback of the Lions. He's the Quentin Barnes of the Lions. I was very worried because he'd been turning the ball over a lot. He had been making bad decisions, getting in his own head, and not following the basic tenets of American football, which are field position, don't turn the ball over. If you look at the math of football, if you play for field position and you have a positive turnover ratio, which means you have 3 turnovers to the other team's 1, you are going to win 10 games in the NFL. It's a very simple formula. And there's a lot that goes into building that up, but once you start turning the ball over a lot, you're fucked. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
And Jared had been doing that a lot. And for those of you who don't know, it's fascinating because Jared Goff played for the Los Angeles Rams. Mm-hmm. Rams quarterback played for the Detroit Lions.
Was at one time the highest paid. Wasn't his contract like one of the highest
when
paid?
He was a rookie? When he was a rookie, he was the highest paid player. He came out of nowhere. He did a great job for Matthew Stafford. Did an amazing job for Detroit. Balled out, played hard, But Jared Goff played for the Rams, I believe, for 3 seasons. They went to a Super Bowl, lost. The next season, he did not play well. And the Rams basically blamed everything on Jared Goff. And then they traded for Matt Stafford. Detroit got a bunch of picks for this. And the Rams basically got Matt Stafford, who is a phenomenal player. I think one of the best of all time. And then that year they made that trade, the Rams with Stafford won the Super Bowl. So Jared Goff looked like a fucking Gomer. He looked like Gomer Pyle, couldn't grab his ass with both hands, got dealt to Detroit. Detroit basically was like, you know what? Well, we got to pay him $20 million because that was his contract. So we're going to play this season with him. Detroit had a new coach, and the new coach is like, no, we're this is our guy. We're all in. That was 3 years ago. Then they lost a shit ton of games. Then last year they went on a 7-1 winning streak at the end of the season, wound up with a winning record, and Jared Goff started really coming on. And then this year the Lions won 12 regular season games, lost 5. The 5 they lost, frankly, Jared Goff did not play well. But this was, so to finish up, so this was Jared Goff having a chance to win a playoff game for a team that has not won a playoff game in 30 years against the team that kicked him to the curb with the quarterback they got from the Lions, who won a Super Bowl the first year he was in the Rams, where Jared Goff had been playing. You can't write this fucking kind of Hollywood drama.
I think it's you, when we were walking earlier today, you mentioned also that part of the reason that the team is the team that it is, the Lions team, the current lineup is what it is because of all those draft picks.
That's right.
When they traded Matty Stafford, they got a bunch of draft picks, which became what is now the Lions team. And I think that absolutely makes a huge difference.
It's massive. The Lions got 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and I believe a third-round pick from the Rams and got Jared Goff. So this has turned out to be, at this point, the single best trade the Lions have ever made, because the people they've got, Hutchinson. Well, no, they got Hutchinson on their own, but they've got a linebacker, they've got a defensive back, they've got a tight end that is an all-pro, they've got another receiver. They got all of these guys because of extra picks. The extra picks brought the players in the Lions organization, which allows them to be the team that they are. They have 4 rookies starting this year. It's just, it's really, honestly, it's a very rare story in sports where everybody won. Everybody won. The Rams won a Super Bowl. Matt Stafford, who probably should have 3 Super Bowl rings right now, got to win a Super Bowl, got to be the man in L.A., which is a great place for an athlete to be. Lions got Jared Goff, who revitalized his career, a shit ton of picks, and the Lions were able to do something they haven't done in 3 decades. Michael Grace, not only did I not boo Matt Stafford when he took the field, I posted on the threads that anyone who booed Matt Stafford is an embarrassment to the Detroit franchise. That dude, Matt Stafford, those of you who don't know football, is one of the toughest fuckers on the planet. He got the living shit kicked out of him in Detroit, nonstop. Always got up, always balled out, played hurt, played with broken ribs, broken thumbs. He was just a stud. He was the guy anybody would want to lead their team. The fact that he played 12 years in Detroit and finally is like, look, guys, you don't have the team to put this together. I would like to go somewhere there's a contender. And Detroit happily traded. He's like, you've earned it. He traded him. And keep this in mind. There are people who think Detroit, if they had Stafford now, would be competing for the Super Bowl. If Detroit had Stafford now, they would not have won 6 games because it's all the picks they got for Stafford that have allowed them to be competitive. Everybody won. It's wonderful. It's rare. It's rare in life. Everybody wins. Like when you guys listen to me, everybody wins.
Also, Scott's co-author, Rob Otto, posted a couple of days ago that 2023 was the 7th consecutive calendar year that saw 0 playoff game victories by the 4 Detroit professional sports teams. Obviously, that streak is over. That's the Pistons.
Wait, say that again?
Rob posted... 2023 was the 7th consecutive calendar year that saw 0 playoff game victories by the 4 Detroit professional sports teams, their longest streak ever.
7 years, all 4 teams?
Yep.
Oh, my God. Woo!
And now that's over. Thanks to the Lions.
Hey, you know what is over? And also the University of Michigan, Maize and Blue, won the national title. They taken the natty home. And apparently Harbaugh's interviewing for the Chargers position.
I heard that.
Fuck. I thought Harbaugh was going to sit in Michigan and just keep winning games and keep winning titles, but the lure of the NFL is sparkly.
It is sparkly.
Sparkly.
A lot of people asked if Scott will be traveling to the game, and I don't think that he will.
Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? The cheapest ticket you could get 2 days ago was $615. The cheapest ticket you could get. Now, don't get me wrong. When last time the Lions went to the playoffs and they played the Saints, I went to New Orleans, and I'm not going to lie, I dropped $1,000 on the ticket that I did not have. And I spent all the travel money that I did not have. And I went, and the Lions lost. It was a good game. It was very fun. But you know what? If you're going to drop upwards of $2,000 to go watch a game in New Orleans, that's one thing. If you're going to drop $2,000 to go watch a game in Detroit, come on, bro.
In January.
Detroit no, I don't think
Detroit
so.
in January.
No. It's very cold in Detroit right now. It's very
6
cold.
degrees. It's 6 degrees according to Brian.
6 degrees. Listen, here's the thing.
6 degrees in Detroit.
I'm not going to lie. I already have a small penis. You put me in 6-degree temperatures. It's very tiny. I don't need that damage on my ego, guys. I would rather be in sunny California, where at least it's as long as it is. Thank you very much.
Plus, you guys, if he did go to that game, he would be traveling by himself. Do you know why? Because he's not fun. He's not too fun at these games. True. And if they win or lose, he'd be crabby.
Yeah. I wouldn't be crabby. I've been very happy since they won.
That's true. That's true. You have been.
If they lost, because if my boys lost, I'm like, I just dropped. To be frank, if I went to see this game by myself, it's at least $2,500. At least for the worst seats in the house when you factor in travel and everything else. Not to mention the time I lose, for writing for you guys. And they lose, that's hard, dog. So I said, because a lot of people in their team makes the playoffs, they have a playoff party, people come over, they cook a bunch, everybody's there to support the people who like that team. And I knew, frankly, if you have kids, this is the time to tell them to stop listening.
Earmuffs.
If I would have called the best friends I have in the world motherfuckers all through the game if they had looked at me the wrong way. I turned off my phone. I am on text with my boys from high school 24/7. It's a nonstop ration of shit going on in that thread. Yeah. I just turned it off. I turned that off. I had to turn up. I told everybody, don't bother me. Nobody came over. And I told A, if you want to be on your phone, don't even react to an Instagram video.
He did. So I also turned off my phone.
Don't react to a YouTube thing that you think is funny, because I'll think you're laughing about a thing about the game that I haven't seen, and I'll lose my goddamn mind. I have no rationality whatsoever. So I just and A made a couple of big old Detroit-style coney dogs. It was great, and fries, and it was, frankly, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm a very, very lucky man. I'm very blessed. I put in a lot of work to get the things I have, but there's been a lot of huge, huge moments in my life that I can't believe are real for a kid from a small town like I come from. Lions winning a playoff game, top 5. Top 5. And it's up there. It's fucking it's unreal to me.
That was the thing. I think maybe,
Jen Hathorne, what's up? Love you, baby.
David, I think maybe you and I talked about this last weekend, but a lot of people, a significant number, which is probably 3 or 4 or 5, were kind of gave Scott a little bit of shit because he was all over social media saying absolutely one of the best days of my life, if not the best day of my life. And a handful of people were like, bro, you got married a few years ago. Like, what? And then I got on in the internet because it is true. He's been a Lions fan since he was this big, and he only met me.
No, literally. There's a picture of me wearing a child's Lions helmet that looks like the helmet from fucking Spaceballs on me.
It's true.
What was that character's name? Darth. What? I don't remember. I have a regular Lions helmet.
Isn't it something like Dark Helmet?
Dark helmet. And like the helmet for a child is over my shoulders. Dark helmet. Thank you, Sean. Sean's reliable.
Yes.
I have been, my falls have been miserable for my entire fucking life because I am too stupid to stop loving the Lions. But this year,
This
fantastic.
was a good year.
Fantastic. Listen.
Although, when you won, when the Lions won the weekend before, he posted a photo on the internet drinking the Faygo like he always does, and he was like, "You're got to get in on this too because you're invested now too." So the last couple have been the both of us, and that I always like don't think it all the way through, and so he posted it, and I was looking at it later. I was with my mom, and I was like, "Okay, so I didn't plan to be in my PJs on the internet, but okay, here we are."
Brian Leach says he tailgate at Eastern Market at 8 degrees. Eastern Market is a neighborhood in Detroit. Come on, Scott. Show some support for the home team. Listen, dude, if I was in Detroit, if I was in Michigan, I would do that. But right now, I am not traveling. You guys, okay, let's talk about this now. Now, we talk about Lions. I have fucking 2024.
Oh, my gosh.
Is going to suck so bad for me. And we hope that this is the last.
It's good for us, though.
The last year that I work these insane hours and overpromise things and do all, hey, Jimmy mustache. And hopefully 22, we've tried to set it up. We've had meetings. We've had corporate meetings.
We've had a lot of meetings.
We're trying to set up 2024 as the last year that I have to fucking do this, not only to myself, but to A as well. And even though we're 50-50 owners in the company, well, we're married now, so I guess, even though A has put in just as much work, we still want to fucking chill, dude. We're in our 50s. We're going to fucking hang out and do stupid shit and fucking, watch Better Call Saul and get high and not have to worry about getting up in the morning. Not quite there yet because of all the stuff we have promised. So the amount of work I would lose going to see this once-in-a-lifetime game is actually it's a thing we have to keep in mind. It's a significant factor. So at this point, traveling across the country, paying insane NFL asshole prices for this, I'm watching at home. I'm good.
But also, when the Lions continued to have a winning season, and you guys know, in December, we saw the Lions play the Saints in New Orleans. It was wonderful. It was an epic, wonderful trip. It was a great time. But we talked a lot about Scott genuinely thought he would never see another NFL game live his entire life. And we kind of talked about it in the Superdome. Like, well, I guess we're here. And that experience was quite a lot different. If you ever have an opportunity to go to New Orleans to watch the Saints play.
Or any team.
Any team. Yeah.
Yeah, go. Fucking
absolutely.
It's fantastic.
It's a lovely, if you've never been to New Orleans or you've never been to Louisiana, the New Orleans is the place where good times roll, right? Like that is the whole
just a fucking magnificent city. Magnificent.
And so the stadium had, brass bands and it was so fantastic and so much fun and so many hurricanes and so much good food that you really can't go wrong there. But when we were talking about it, that was sort of like he would go see it. You might go see another sports event at the Superdome or in New Orleans, but you're not necessarily all that hot on going to see an NFL game in general.
Well, there's a reason for this. Let me allow me to explain. I may have been misunderstood. The thing is, right now, with all of the information, as a person who is literally my first memory as a human being, is sitting on my father's knee watching 16 millimeter football film. My first experience as a human being that I can recall is watching and analyzing football. So football is a very fucking super serious religious thing to me. And the product that is on TV right now, with any number of analysts, any number of commentators, the graphics, the explanation, I know football literally better than 98% of the people you will ever meet in your life. I know an enormous amount. Every single time I watch NFL football on Sunday, I learn shit. I'm like, fuck, I didn't know that. That's amazing. The product on TV is spectacular. It is spectacularly, it's educational, it's informative, it's religious for me. If you go see it at a game, you don't get any of that. You sit there, and when it's a TV timeout, I'm like, so, yeah, maybe we should get some fucking almonds. Yeah, you feel like some roasted nuts? Let's go. So when you pay four figures
Fair.
to go see a game and you don't get that fucking mainline wirehead information, that's a huge choice. And in a place like New Orleans, where you can rent a house, Airbnb near it, walk there, get all the culture, get the stadium, go see the music, get the food, meet the people. It's wonderful. It's great. When you actually have to driving to a game, I would rather, can I be crude?
I guess.
I would rather sniff a mile of camel farts to do a proctology exam on a surly camel than drive to an NFL football game. It's not fun. It's not fun. Ruins are going in, ruins are coming out, much like a camel eating bad hay, like that. And whereas you can sit home in the comfort of your own home with your beloved, learn all of this information, eat this wonderful food, have a good time. So to go see a live game, it takes a little something for me at this point in my life. And I've seen, I'm gonna guess 20 live NFL games in my life. It takes a little something. Even a playoff game, I want to sit home, not get into a fight, not have to listen to people who sit next to me babble on because they don't know a goddamn fucking thing about football, not have people sitting next to me who are worried that A, their outfit isn't quite right because it's only rich people at games now, or B, fucking mad because I'm standing up and yell at me because they want me to sit down so they can watch the game because they paid a lot for these seats. There's a lot of shit going on at a game that stresses me out an enormous amount. So it's very rare for me to want to go to a game.
Although,
there you go. There you go. No line for the
thing-
toilet, Jen. Exactly.
Another thing, though, is we have enjoyed quite a lot watching football with a bunch of friends, like Jude and Mom and Jake, and when the Gralls were out here, like the small
gatherings.
Yeah.
Small gatherings at a place, at a bar, at a sports bar. Wonderful. Fantastic. Love it. But you still, like, while people are actually trying to have conversations with me, I'm watching the screen and I'm watching the teleprompter and I'm watching all the lines. I'm like, I didn't know that guy's amazing. I didn't know that. That's amazing. It's just this, it's a nonstop buffet of information.
True.
For me, for what I consider to be the single greatest game mankind has ever invented, with the exception of outright warfare. The only thing more complicated and intricate and nuanced than American football is war. That's it. That's it.
I also learned by asking some of Scott's Michigander friends for ideas about Michigan food or Detroit food that I could make last weekend. I found out that Jiffy Mix is a Michigan creation.
Fuck yeah, dude.
So
Fuck
I made
yeah.
blueberry muffins.
I had blueberry muffins. I would marry this girl again on the drop of a hat. I had blueberry muffins in the morning. For the game, I had 2 giant coney dogs covered in chili, messy as crazy, French fries, a roll of paper towel, because these if you do chili dogs right, you coney dogs right, you get chili on everything. It's crazy.
And if you don't know what a Detroit coney dog is, and if you thought, like I did, being a New Yorker, that a coney dog would have come from Coney Island in New York, none of that is true. A coney dog is a very specific chili that is made in the Detroit and surrounding area, and it's a little bit sweet, and it doesn't have tomato stuff in it, tomato paste in it. It's crazy, but I made it. And then all beef hot dogs, or they can be chicken dogs, but then I'm not sure if that's still a coney dog. And then chopped white onions and yellow mustard.
Yeah.
That's the very specific thing that is a coney dog. So I looked it up. I made blueberry muffins. I got Werner's ginger ale.
It was very good.
And then we celebrated with Faygo.
And at one point, she started to try and mention she'd put a Faygo in the fridge. And the fact that I'm still married, that she even started to have the conversation.
I did not do that last weekend. I did that at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. This is how bad it is. I'm a man of science. I know not a lot about science, but I basically know the basics of science. I'm an atheist. I know science. The second someone started talking to me about the outcome of the game after the game, should we prepare X for after the game? I'm like, you go to hell. You go to hell and you die,
listen,
demon. You...
Listen, between the beginning of the season and the end of the season, I actually think the Faygo thing might have been last season even, because I've been doing this a while with the Faygo. However, I did learn that
good point.
Literally during the wrap up when they hadn't, like, every confetti still on the field, all that jazz, I checked on what we would be eating during the next game. I at least knew that I was allowed to ask that.
Great. Tell them the answer. Tell them the answer.
Exactly everything we already have.
Everything exactly how it was on Sunday. No variation. I wish I had told her she needed to know how many French fries are on the fucking plate. Because one or two, either way, plus or minus, can fuck it up. So listen, I got something to say. I got something to say about Detroit. If you travel to either Detroit for whatever reason, or to Las Vegas for whatever reason, you owe it to yourself. You owe it to your children, to your ancestors. You owe it to you. You need to have a Detroit-style Coney dog. And fries are optional, but a Detroit-style Coney dog is one of the unique Detroit things. And then if you get that and you're still hungry, go get a Detroit-style pizza. That is what it's all about. That's what it's about. And of course, you get sauerkraut and sausage. You can get that in Detroit. You can go to fucking Polish Town. It's going to be great. But get yourself a fucking Coney dog. Get yourself a fucking Detroit-style pizza. Those are the best fucking things. Martin Evans had Costco dogs with chilies, frankly, pretty close. With a chopped white onion and yellow mustard. Not fancy mustard. There's no Grey Poupon. There's no stone ground.
I will tell you guys
this. Gourmet.
I actually, of course, I couldn't ask Scott, right? Those are the rules. I can't ask Scott because it's food for the game, so I'm not allowed to ask. I asked a couple of his friends, who are my friends too, and I asked them, and they help. However, I looked up recipes because I thought, I know a Coney dog, so I'll look that up and I'll do that. And then I asked his friends about everything else, and I looked up like 3 or 4 Coney dog recipes, just to make sure, so it wasn't a variation. It was reasonably the same. And all 4 recipes said yellow mustard, and then said not Dijon mustard, not stone ground mustard, regular yellow mustard. Every one of them. I was like, what?
Chris Grohl is fucking tripling down on poutine. Listen, I love a poutine. Don't get me wrong. That is a different dish. A poutine dog or poutine in general or fucking chili and gravy and cheese on French fries. Don't get me wrong. If you want to go get poutine, I'm your Huckleberry. I'm down. I'm good. You know what? I'm not going to live to 100 anyway, so might as well get a triple coronary bypass. Can you have that? Double or triple? Can you have a triple?
You could have both, yeah.
A lot of poutines. Can you have a quad?
You can.
A lot of poutines, a quad bypass is great shit. But it is not a Detroit-style Coney dog.
Wins the internet tonight. One thing I forgot, Detroit food, Mom's Spaghetti.
Mom's Spaghetti is new. Mom's Spaghetti is a restaurant that is founded by Marshall Mathers, also known as Eminem, to those of you who are not from Michigan. And it is because it's one line from one song, and he has turned it into a franchisable restaurant opportunity. We saw clips of it on the show. I've never had it. It looked fucking amazing. There were many menu options. Mom's Spaghetti, though, I think Detroit will become known for Mom's Spaghetti, but that is not a necessarily Detroit-style dish.
And listen, you guys, if you are fans of spaghetti or you never really thought if you were a fan of spaghetti, but you ever go to a county fair or something like that, and you get the opportunity to try essentially a spaghetti sub where they take French... No, it sounds delicious. It's far too many. It's far too much. It's far too much.
What do you mean by too much?
It should be delicious. It should be perfection. It should be cheesy and melt in your mouth. But mostly, I need more Dr. Pepper. It's too much. It's too much dry carbs in your mouth. It doesn't work.
I don't understand this word. Too much dry carbs. I don't understand it. Listen, all you motherfuckers are fantastic. Thank you, honey. I literally told her like 5 minutes before the show. I'm like, okay, I've been working on this episode for 3 days. I got nothing. There's nothing to talk about. We're just going to shoot this shit. And the whole time I was talking about that, did not cross my mind that my life's Honolulu and Silver Blood won a fucking playoff game in one of the greatest days of my life. But that is why I'm married to this fucking precious Manhattan Irish Ruby right here.
I also did not mention it before the show so that his reaction would be fresh take.
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. Martin Evans.
Too much bread. Yes, too much bread.
I was about to insult Martin Evans, but
too much bread.
You're
You'll
right.
Try
it's too much bread. There can be too much bread.
It's supposed to be delicious. It doesn't work out that way.
So, what we've learned here today is you guys need to come back next week and join us because we fucking love you and it's great to read to you and I love creating things for you. Number 2, we got to have Mom's Spaghetti. at some point very much. Number 3, if you go to Detroit, I forgot this part. If you go to Detroit, make sure you get a Greek coney dog, a Detroit-style coney dog. And also, if you go to Vegas for any reason, the D, T-H-E-D, that casino has a full-on 24-hour Detroit-style coney dog place in the casino. Figure out when to go there. You can go at 4 a.m. You go at 4 a.m.
I thought you had to go to Burger King at 4 a.m. with your boys.
4 a.m. Burger King in Vegas is great. Go to Vegas and make sure you get a Detroit-style coney dog. We've learned a lot here today. We've become better people here today. And number 4, motherfuckers, if any of you fucking text me, Twitter me, thread me, Instagram me, Facebook me, fucking call me, the phone will be off this Sunday when the Detroit Lions play host to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and this playoff round in the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. Because I will either be very happy or A's going to get in the car and drive somewhere because no one wants to be in my fucking house. You're fantastic. I love you all. You're great. Make sure, you know what? Let's do it. Elia, reach back. Pat yourself on the back. There you go. You're fucking fantastic. I would slap you on the ass if we were in person, but we're not. So pat yourself on the back.
It's definitely time to go. We'll see you guys next week.
The D on Fremont Street, Brian. Brian Kane. That's a man who knows his Vegas. The D on Fremont Street. We got to go to Vegas, baby. We got to go. We'll fucking give Brian Kane a call. We'll fucking hang out.
He now lives not in Vegas.
Oh, not in Vegas?
Yeah.
Brian Kane, love you, baby. Love you. Love you. You guys are all fantastic. We will, oh my God, this lighting, look how good I look.
Okay. All right.
I'm on my second scotch. What do you guys want? I do not drink scotch all day to read for you. We're going to shut up. Here we go. You know what? Detroit Lions playing this Sunday home against at noon Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time, against Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's going to be a brutal, knuckle-dragging slobber knocker in Ford Field. You should all watch. You will enjoy. But until then, what can they do?
Kiss off into the sky.
You may all kiss off into the sky. Ha, 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 ha.